Hey y'all, it's Danielle from Black Business Boom and Booming You, and I am really excited to have one of my attorneys joining us today. Charles Frazier has just been amazing in helping me and my husband along the way with our estate planning and all the things as we were leading up to get married and all that. So I'm excited to have him joining us today. I see a lot of folks, I think as we are aging, people are starting to realize that I got to get my affairs in order. And I tell you, it feels like folks are leaving us so much younger these days. And so it's so important that we are proactive with getting our affairs in order. And that is exactly what they do at Frazier Law. So I'm excited to have you here with me today, Charles. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Thanks for having me. Yeah,
Yeah.
all kinds of when you were talking there about people, getting out of here early and having to get this stuff done. You should see some of the clients who come in here. They think they got it all figured out. They wait until they're, I don't know, 70, 80. I've got a few 90, early 90 clients, and they waited right to the last second. So you're ahead of the game.
Is still behind. And that's the thing. It's like it feels like even for I try to keep all our affairs and everything in order, but the estate planning just feels so daunting. And I think that's for a lot of us, for a lot of different reasons. We've not been taught that it's something that we should do. When you start to age, you start to own more, and it's a lot more to consider. And it makes you deal with your own mortality too, right? And so nobody wants to really deal with the fact that we're all gonna die. And our families may not know what to do, what to do after that happens. And so it's irresponsible of us to do, but it can be a lot, it can be a heavy thing to deal with. So do you find that a lot of people are putting it off because they just really don't want to deal with death and what happens after they die?
Yeah, a lot of clients who show up, they show up simply because something in their lives showed them that it was absolutely necessary. Like they had to, be serve as the executor of an estate that it took them forever to get through, or they had a loss of a loved one, or they had a recent, some events are happy. You have a recent birth of a child. I tell a lot of my clients that many of them aren't coming for themselves; they're coming for their loved ones. They don't. I mean, when they die, they're not going to be here to deal with the aftermath. But the question is, do you want to leave a mess, or do you want to leave? Let your family grieve about your loss without the additional burden of having to clean up or sweep up after the fact that you didn't really take care of your estate planning. Um, and so yeah, that I mean, there's just many reasons that people are motivated. I don't, some spouses in a relationship, one is more interested in getting it done. The other one is just there because they want to be there. you know, but whatever gets you in, what I try to do is to get out in the community and give people a little bit of information so that that seed is planted, and when it grows, then you ultimately take that step and get that done. Because again, you're not doing it for yourself; you're doing it for the people that you love.
I love it. So I know I mentioned that some people get overwhelmed because they have a lot of stuff. But then I think the other end of the spectrum is those that feel like they don't have a lot. And so what am I really planning for? What
Mhm.
do you say to those people?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, even when you don't have a lot, I mean, it's one issue that I generally bring up in my estate planning consultations and engagements. Sentimental value property, people don't really
Mhm.
think about that. And what does that even mean? When nobody cares about your stuff. When I'm at my estate planning webinars, seminars, I'll put up a block of 6 classes of property. One of them has stuff in it, just stuff. And I'll say, hey, what do you guys think the most fights in probate come up about? and inevitably, nobody or very few people anyway pick the stuff box. And I tell folks that stuff represents an opportunity for fights because everybody has it. Um, your loved ones aren't fighting over your stuff because the stuff is valuable, and that's the myth. People think I got to have a lot of stuff to do any planning. That's a myth. When you leave this earth, your stuff takes on a brand new significance.
Mm.
You were talking about your husband a minute ago. He has other family that love him. You love him very much, so much that you married him. And if he were to leave this earth, we're not talking about the other stuff. We're talking about his sweater, his sweatshirt that still has his scent, his essence in it. Are you going to
Mhm.
part with that very easily? Probably not.
Mhm. Mhm.
You'll give somebody his, stocks or bonds or whatever, but those
Mhm.
things that remind you of him, and that's all you have left to hold on to, you would go to war about that stuff. And that's what you see
Mhm.
sometimes in probate courts. The two daughters who can't figure out who deserves mama's one ring that they got that she got from daddy. Um,
Mhm.
the two boys who used to go golfing with dad all the time, but he only had one set of clubs. Who get them? Do they split down the middle? So again, sentimental value property is something that people need to pay attention to, and also, if you don't, if you're not that focused on your stuff, if you have special situations in your life, especially when you have children, you have to decide or have to figure out if you don't come home one day, who's going to care for your kid? And that's a big one. People who are not otherwise motivated to do any planning can look at their children and say, wait a minute, I got to figure out what happens if I don't come home one day. You know,
Jesus, that's heavy. It is. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot, but I mean, it's something that you truly never know. The next moment is not promised to any of us. So it's something that, although we do not like to talk about, I think in Black families especially, we don't really like to talk about and deal with it. But I have seen the fallout, after someone dies over pots and pans and china and fur coats and jewelry and like the things that are not extremely, like you said, they're not super valuable. A cast iron skillet is not like something you can't go out and buy with $30, but when it's
grandma
your great
cooking it.
grandma's, that's important to you when she used to make the cornbread in it, right? And so those are
Cornbread.
things that we just don't think about, right? Like, I need to be able to make my grandma's cornbread and I cannot do it without this skillet, right? So it's really important. So I mean, I have seen, like I said, I've seen a lot of people recently asking for recommendations on estate planning attorneys. I always recommend you when I see those questions. We definitely do not see a lot of us in the industry. And so I'm excited that there are more people who are taking the initiative and wanting to learn more about estate planning and wanting to be proactive in their approach. And I'm excited that you're doing a session this week where folks can jump on in and get the basics. So tell us a little bit about your webinar, your free webinar that's coming up this Thursday.
Yeah. This Thursday, at 6 p.m., we're going to just jump online. You can go to my website, frazier.law. There's a link there where you can register. I think we've got a maybe capped at 500. So that should be plenty of room for everybody, but you never know. I've done these in the past, and there seem to be, fairly high demand. But we're just going to go over the basics. Estate Plan 101. I mean, I've seen lots of miseducation out in the marketplace. I get lots of clients who come in with lots of TikTok and YouTube University ideas. And what I'm going to do is just give you real world, solid basics. So you can know then what you don't know now, and make plans for what you want to make plans for. And so ultimately, we'll get into, what's the difference between wills and trusts, and do you need both? Um, what is probate? Why should we be trying to avoid it, or do you want to avoid it? Because in some situations you want to go through probate if you need supervision.
Mm.
You know, the more important topic to me is it's incapacity planning. I mean, we all die a grand total of one time, but you may get sick and or injured and need the assistance of trusted individuals many times before you actually die. So you got to have those documents in place, or you should. And all of these
Mm.
issues just get extraordinarily more complex when you just got your hands in everything. So if you're a business person, if you're moving and shaking and you got kids and maybe you're a blended family, you got fur babies that you want to take care of, if you got somebody with special needs, I mean, there's just all kinds of
Mm.
situations that have to have some sort of plan put in place because you know, ultimately lots of us don't realize it. I mean, you'll learn this at the webinar if you come, but you do have a plan. It's the one that the state of Tennessee did for you. You may or may not like it, but you got one. uh,
Mm.
and lots of folks, whenever I explain what the state of Tennessee has said is supposed to happen with your stuff when you don't opt out of that plan, really don't like it. So again, we're just going to be giving away a little bit of information. I hope to do this at least once a month, either in person at an actual venue or online. This month, we're just going to do it online.
I love it. I'm excited. We're gonna get something planned and on the calendar because we really, for the business owners, we got to talk about succession planning. There's so many things. What happens if you do get sick or you're incapacitated as a business owner, and then what happens as you die? So, like you said, it gets a little bit more complex when you are a business owner and you have people, you have employees, and all these things, and there's so many things to consider. So we're gonna make sure we get that on the calendar soon. But in the meantime, remind folks how can they register for the webinar on Thursday at 6 p.m.
Yeah, again, if you just go to frazier.law, frazier.law, scroll down the home page there a little bit, and you'll see a link. It just says register here, free webinar, February 26th, so this Thursday at 6 p.m. Just go register, come jump on, and be prepared to participate, ask your questions, because I love to interact. I don't have to go in any particular order. I've been doing this for a little while. Got all the I think all the credentials. So whatever you might ask me, I don't think you're going to stump me. We'll get through it. We'll, and when I say that, I mean where it makes sense. If you got something that's hyper personal to your situation, I'll ask you to come on into the office and we'll discuss it in a more intimate setting.
Mm.
But for the generals, for the basics, come on into that webinar this Thursday at 6 p.m. And get a little bit of extra knowledge that you can carry and talk to your friends and family about, and or take action on yourself if you need to.
Sounds good. I'm excited. Thank you so much for doing this. We need this information in our community. I mean, there's so much, and I just want to throw out there that, when you talk about estate planning, it's not always about death. I would just want to echo that it's not always about death. We initially engaged with Attorney Frazier when we were planning to get married, and we both had assets that we wanted to protect, and he helped us to do our prenup before we got married. And so there's so much to estate planning, and we've even tapped in with him about some tax stuff. So a wealth of knowledge, a great team over there at Frazier Law. And again, I just encourage everyone, go to frazier.law and register for this webinar. It will not cost you anything but time, and that's an investment in yourself and in your family. So make sure you get registered for this Thursday at 6 p.m. Thank you so much for joining me. This was great.
Welcome. Thank you for having me, as
And
always.
thanks again for everything you do in our community. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Have